Watch Who.
Hello.
And welcome to To Watch Who, a Doctor Who podcast. I'm Mark.
I'm Sarah.
And I'm a Doctor Who fan.
And I'm new to watching Who.
Watching for the very first time.
Very first time.
And you join us. We're here in the company of the swampies today.
Company of the swampies.
Having a nice time. Having a bit of a chant out in the reeds. Kroll.
Oh, yeah.
Kroll.
Do you know what?
Kroll.
It's funny because you said you weren't a fan of this. And then
Kroll.
as soon as they started chanting, I was like, this is why Mark doesn't like it.
Kroll. 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 Kroll.
How do you feel about this chant, Mark?
Kroll. No, I don't like it.
To the point.
I don't like it. Don't tell them I don't like it. I don't like it.
I know,
It just goes on a long time.
And everything.
Yeah, it just goes on too long. Anyway, we'll make the most of it while we're here. We'll sit on a reed and have a chat about this story.
Sit on a reed?
The reeds. Sit on some reed. On a reed. Pull
On
up
a reed?
On a reed. You know, the reeds.
Reeds? No, I'm not sitting on a reed.
Well, there's a figure of
It's the most
speech.
uncomfortable thing ever.
Just sit on, okay, here's some reeds that I've
Fine,
made.
sit on the reeds.
There we are, by the water. Before we start, I've got a little update. I don't know if you noticed on Twitter this week
Oh, go on.
in the
Probably
news. Be a bit old news by the time people hear this. Oh, actually, yeah. Even before I even start the news, this is our first recording of 2023,
Yeah.
and this is obviously the 60th anniversary year of Doctor Who we're going into.
Cray.
Linked to that, there was some news that there's going to be some more animations of
Right.
missing stories.
Expected.
And the two stories that apparently are going to be coming out this year. Well, number one, you'll like the two missing ones of the Underwater Menace.
Okay.
Nothing in the World Can Stop Me Now.
Yeah.
And the Smugglers.
Oh, fucking hell.
It's going to be, the whole thing is going to be animated.
Is that confirmed? Or is it just speculated?
It was being speculated, not 100% announced.
How does that happen? Because there's plenty of options, so where does the speculation come from?
I think it's fairly likely. I mean, they are totally random stories to animate, but
Yeah.
it could be true. I think it probably is. Oh, and also apparently they're going to be colorizing some of the black and white ones for the 60th anniversary. Like the first episode, I think they're going to try and colorize apparently, which I think is likely something that BBC would try and do.
That's interesting. Not sure how I feel about that.
I'm not really bothered about them being colorized.
I mean, I think it's nice, and I think it'll introduce it to an audience in a new way. Do I want to see Ian in colour? Of course I want to see Ian in colour. But I don't know if, it makes that much difference.
I know I don't think so, but if The Smugglers does come out, we are watching that and going back and reevaluating a full animated Smugglers.
Really? I really struggle with that.
I know of all the ones when I saw that. No, but that's the one, if you remember, that's the Squire with his wig.
I know, I remember.
Anyway, I did think of you when they said The Smugglers because of how fond of it you are.
It wasn't the one that was positive that I was concerned about. That's why I was like, yeah, go on.
Anyway, that's the news.
Great. And I guess they'll be the end of the year as well.
I suppose so. Who knows?
Do you know what? I was thinking about it over Christmas, and it's crazy that there was nothing over Christmas for Doctor Who. It's been a long time that I can think of that there's not been either a Christmas or a New Year episode.
No, or they put that little trailer out at Christmas.
That's it.
Just
but we've
to
seen
make
that
up.
trailer. It was just an extended version. There was maybe another 10, 15 seconds.
Yeah, I think they've said from next year onwards it's going to be regular again. They've just got this weird gap.
It just felt really odd, actually. And who was I talking to about? I can't remember. I was talking to a friend about it. And I think 'cause I sent them the trailer and they were like, they hadn't seen the one because it came out online, didn't it, after the episode, not like on TV. I think like if you're not a
Oh no, it was on. It was on after Strictly on Christmas Day.
I think if you're a fan, you'll have seen the trailer online, whereas this is the first time the trailer was on TV. So I was talking to a friend about it, and they were like, God, that's really exciting. When's that on? And I went, November 2023. And they're like, what? They couldn't believe it. And I was like, yeah, like that was out after like the last episode, which you watched. I was like, you saw it. And they were like, I didn't realize it was going to be that long. They were like, I thought, because what was that, October?
Yeah.
They're like, I thought like it was, I don't know, I just thought it was something over Christmas. I was like, no. And it just got me thinking like how strange. And the whole time it's been back, I can't think of a time when it's not been on either Christmas or New Year.
Well, I think there's going to be a lot of stuff next year for the anniversary, so I'm sure they'll make up for it.
Hopefully.
Well, what a story to start the new year on. Kroll. Well, I think it's divided here. I think some people can appreciate it and see it, and other people just think it's a little bit boring. I've always thought it was a bit boring. I have enjoyed it more this time, though.
I sat a little bit in the middle with it. I didn't find it boring, but it's not been my favourite of the season.
No.
So far.
No. Well,
but like there has to be weak ones. There's always got to be something that's like when you have strong seasons, and you know we've had quite a few strong seasons now. You got to have some weak moments, and there was nothing necessarily bad about it. There was just nothing necessarily groundbreaking or like different.
I liked all the location stuff, all those reeds, all where it's filmed, really different. You can believe that's like a whole planet of swamp.
Yeah, I liked the location stuff. I really liked all that too. And I liked, actually, just like, which is normally a big criticism, I did like the costumes.
Right.
Mark's not sure.
What, the swampies?
Yeah, I liked their, like, I thought, like, they were quite effective. Like, you knew what they were. I thought they were quite effective.
Oh, all in the great, like, poor actors in that green makeup.
Right.
Like, in mad freezing cold.
Wicked on stage, do you know what I mean?
Oh my god, it is wicked. It's a wicked makeup, but no, I didn't.
I thought it for what they are and what they are trying to be. I thought it was quite effective. It was like, you know, it was obviously like a dreadlocky wool sort of hair. I thought that worked quite well, actually. I'm not going to go down the whole cultural appropriation of it, but it worked, I think, for the costume, for what they are. They're supposed to be swamp-like. They're green. It's sort of fitting within all that. Yeah, it was practical. There's nothing worse than an unpractical costume.
No, I suppose not. Not.
They could move. They could do things. That's sometimes not the case in their costumes. And you knew what they were. Like, they fit within... If you're going to call something a swampy, that's what it is.
Yeah, no, you're right.
The Kroll head...
What, actual Kroll? The monster. The squid monster.
Yeah, which is basically a green screen of someone's head.
No, it's an actual creature.
It is. That is someone's head that has been that has had a lot of makeup, and then there's tentacles. I'm telling you, look again. There's definitely a shot, and that is all that. It's someone's head to do movement, right? And like they've obviously put like makeup over it, and then the tentacles just come out from it here, from the neck. He's just wearing like a headpiece. And probably just sat on the shoulders, and it's from here, and they've green screened it.
Well, I've never really thought of it that way. Maybe I'll have to have a look up and see.
I am like putting money on that. I'll put some strawberry dreams on it, my friend, because like that is my currency. And also, there was a shot. It was when actually maybe the first or second time you really see him big, and I think the first time, it wasn't the first time, because the first time's like they're far away, and then like, so it was the second time, and there's like an angle shot, more like over, and you can see like it's someone's neck, and then, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's how they've done it.
Wow. But did you like the effect of Kroll?
Yeah, Yeah, I thought it worked really effectively. As again, like as a creature, it served its purpose.
Okay, well, we have our crew on this gas mining thing, and there's 3 of them. They have all been in Doctor Who
There's
before.
supposed to be 5, isn't there?
Oh, I don't know. Well, one of them is the sort of extra one that gets sucked into the pipe later on.
But don't they say something? Doesn't the Doctor say something like the 6? I can't. Gosh, I can't
Didn't
remember.
somebody go?
Someone's gone like, no, 5, or maybe it's the other way, 4, and then he says 5 because they don't count the swampy that's with them.
Yeah, maybe there is supposed to be one goes missing already, one gets killed, and then you've got the 3. But we're just talking about the main 3. They've all been in Doctor Who before.
Oh.
I don't know if you recognised any of them. Right, okay. So we've got the baddie guy, who he turns out to be a baddie. He was Barnum in The Mind of Evil. Do you remember Barnum? The one where they are doing the thing on the killers and making the people in the prison.
Which one was Barnum?
He's like the good one that Joe looked after and he gets run over at the end.
Ah, that's Barnum. Okay,
that's him. So he's playing complete opposite here. We also have the one that survives at the end. He is the guy from The Brain of Morbius, the Dr. Frankenstein guy.
Oh, okay. I wouldn't have guessed that.
Yeah, he looks completely different. And then the third guy you wouldn't have seen, but he is the voice of K9.
Oh, no
the younger
way.
guy. So obviously we don't have K9 in this story because he can't get out into the swamp. He's contracted for the series, so they're like, well, you can't play K9 in this story. Be in the story as somebody else. So then he ends up actually being on screen. So he is K9.
Ah, that's cute. That's cute.
Barnum, K9 and Solon are running our little power plant here. Yeah, when I see the swampies, when I first saw the swampies and they're all doing the chanting and everything, it's like, when it's like an alien-y thing. I mean, I suppose it builds up the picture of the planet and you have to have that contrast. It's very obvious, this story. It's sort of doing colonialism, isn't it, basically, at the end of the day?
Yeah.
In a sci-fi setting, you've got these 2 different sort of warring factions here. The swampies who have been put there and that's their land, and then you've got the guys coming in. They want to get rid of them, trying to take over because they want to mine or do whatever their gas or whatever they do. So it's quite an obvious sort of story. And then you throw Kroll and the key to time and everything in the middle of it. But it's not too spacey. What I like about it is it's not too spacey. You've got the hovercraft, which actually is really cool. And the guys they're not in like bright silver or anything like that. It's quite believable. The sets, I mean, most of it's on location. So the sets that you have are okay. It does look all right. I just always found it a little bit maybe a bit too talky sometimes because they talk about what's going on a lot rather than you see it all, I think, because there's not very many of either side.
It feels very similar to some we've had recently.
Okay.
But like, I couldn't say like it's like this, just there's a lot of very similar elements, which we get a lot in Doctor Who, but we've also had some really good unique ones recently, and which I'm also trying to remember, but I'm sure you can remind me.
Well, we had what's her name? Sestra Diplos on the catwalk last week from Drag Race. We've had the pirate planet captain the week before. So far. Tara as well last week. Androids of Tara was last week. Sorry.
Yeah.
Medieval.
And we had like the very first one. We had last one's was a bit more like medievally and like, but future-y. So, and because they found it at the beginning, it was a bit more of a different sort of quest. So that felt a bit different. I just felt it was a little bit standardy, samey. And what's been really nice this season is having things a bit different.
Yeah, I think it's the location here that makes this stand out more. The actual storyline, it's probably got quite a few layers to it because then you have Rome Duck, the gun runner, and then you've got a lot of back and forth. So he's supplying guns to the swampies, but then our baddie guy, the Barnum guy, wants to get rid of the swampies and all of that.
By the second episode, you don't see him because he's to kill. It's just done. And other than when it comes out like, well, actually your baddie guys supplied them, not who they think. It's sort of done.
There's a lot of that mystery. Well, the thing is, though, there's a lot of mystery of the Kroll thing. But then he pops up, doesn't he, Kroll? Goes away, and then he pops up later for a cliffhanger as if it's like a big shock that we haven't seen him before.
Yeah.
The whole idea is...
You know when she lost the thing? What's it called?
Tracer, yeah.
The Tracer. Can't even remember that. I think I'd have preferred that they'd lost it for longer because actually it felt like just a standard story, and the only way it concluded is that the Doctor realised that was... which was quite obvious. I mean, it's some monster that's living under. And anyway, that's the reason. But I think I'd have preferred that they'd have lost it a bit longer, and that would have given more motive as to why they are interacting with everyone. Because they're trying to figure out where this thing could be, what it could be, and finding the Tracer.
Well, Romana throughout all of this is like, let's just get the thing and go. That is Romana every single time, which I really like.
But actually, if they didn't have the Tracer, they'd have to be trying to work out and talk, and that would have been more of a motive for why that was happening.
Yeah. Well, it's a bit frustrating because straight away, Romana goes off, does her thing, gets captured straight away. I was like, oh, of course. She gets captured and put in a canoe. I mean, there's a lot of canoe filming around here. I mean, that's quite dangerous.
There's a lot of boat filming, yeah.
Loads of boat filming. In Sussex somewhere, I think, on like a nature reserve place. Yeah, it looks really nice, but so many canoes.
It's a nice little reads.
Loads of canoes. I'm not fond of a canoe, I don't think, because you can tip over quite easily. I think I did canoeing in the Scouts at some point. I think I did windsurf. We tried windsurfing. That's more difficult.
I'd like to do paddleboarding, but I'd be scared to fall in.
What's the difference? What's that?
That's one where you stand up on the board.
Oh.
And you just like...
And you do the paddle
along the river.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to have... the balance has to be like... Oh, no, I don't think I could do that. I wouldn't want to fall in.
You can sit down, but then standing up... I think actually you're better balanced standing up than sitting down on it.
Actually, no, now I prefer a canoe. No, actually, I prefer a rowboat, just like with your standard oars, and you can row.
Did you ever do that in Roath Park?
Not in Roath Park, no. No, I never did that.
You see, I did that. Yeah. We did it for my birthday. So you could have, like, the motorised one with pedals, or you could have the row. And it was cheaper to get the row, so we went for the row. We nearly hit the swans like 4 times because like we couldn't control it. And then we were like, they were like, don't go near that because that's basically their bed. And we were just drifting to it and we just couldn't move. And it's like, nightmare. We were like, why didn't we just get the one with the... It was over like £2 more. We're not talking like a massive fortune.
Oh, but it's fun to do the rowing, I think. Once you get the hang of it.
Thought. And in hindsight, we were like, why didn't we just pedal?
Yeah.
I got a pedal boat.
But I mean, getting like a film crew and Romana and Romdart or whoever and a Swampy in a boat together going along in a quite a narrow boat. I mean, well done to them.
No, they do well. It's good for all that.
Like that, it looks good. And I don't know, adding water just makes it seem a bit more exotic in a way. They're filming on water.
Yeah, well, we've not had water for a while. We've had a lot of land.
Yeah,
we've had a lot of places that are obviously Earth that are being told aren't Earth.
Well, we have a lot of quarries, don't we? Like rocks or forests.
Forests and quarries, and we're not on Earth. And last week's was same atmosphere. It's like it's so obviously, but obviously we know it is. It's not like we're going to go and film on like Pluto for a bit, but like. The budget. But more, I don't know. I'm being really picky there. It just makes me laugh a little because it's so obviously like Earth.
Yeah, but this is great change. I just like when the TARDIS lands and you don't see it.
Yeah, I liked that.
It's just really like when they're going through all the reeds. I would have just loved them running around in all the reeds for the whole time. I'm quite happy with that.
Would. You sound like Theresa May.
What was she doing in the field of wheat?
She said something about, what was it? I can't remember what the question was, but she was like, I just like to run through a field of wheat. And it became this whole thing.
I thought Theresa May was all right.
I think we all do now in hindsight.
And she's diabetic.
Yeah, she is diabetic.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry, Romana got taken away in a canoe. That's where we got to. So yeah, I was a bit of like, oh, Romana's got taken away. She didn't scream or anything. You see her just sort of get grabbed, and then she's quite happily sitting in that canoe, being taken away. So the Doctor and Romana are separated for quite a lot of this story, which I think you need in this because there's so little
to go on.
If you're talking about like a story in area, there's like 2 sets in this. And that's about it. So you need them separate. When Romana gets sacrificed at the end of episode 1, that's a very clever moment because you see the sort of pincery thing coming to get her and she screams. And then in the beginning of episode 2, it turns out it is a man in a monster suit, which is quite a bit of a sort of in-joke, Doctor Who in-joke, I think. I thought that was quite clever. That then the Doctor's like, no, it's just a man in a suit. She's like, oh. I really like that. That's a great moment, I think. Oh, yes, canoeing in the dark towards the end of that.
Actually, sorry, can we just go back one sec? So when she was screaming, right, I genuinely thought that she was in on something. It was so unconvincing, that scream. It was like, ah, ah, ah. It was so unconvincing. And I genuinely thought, like, she was absolutely fine. And, like, she's doing it as in, like, she's in on some sort of deal to be like, you're going to be sacrificed. And as part of, I don't know. I was like, the scream was just so unconvincing. I was like, she's not actually in any danger. She's like it was so bad. Well, I'm not sure she's calling the doctor. But she was like,
Romana doesn't scream very much.
Help!
She's not much of a. She doesn't really cry out or scream very much. So it is quite unusual. So we're not really used to. Apart from when she got pushed off that cliff that time, she proper screamed then. Worthy. I
just thought, like, because that guy, you know, he'd obviously put her forward to be sacrificed. And I was like, maybe there's some sort of like thing is like she has to, like, because you don't see her. It's all happening. They don't see it. So maybe it was something of like, if you play, you'll live.
But yeah, the Doctor rescues her, canoeing at night time. Lots of nighttime filming, which adds something to it.
I mean, all you had to do was like 3 strokes. Can we just like the canoe? It's not like we see him come all the way down the river. He just appears.
Well, it's
from a reed and just
canoeing
like
at night,
and then he's there.
Okay, well, it's still something interesting.
Oh yeah.
There's so Rome Dutt then. So this guy, I thought he was American to begin with. He's Irish.
Yeah, you and accents aren't great, so yeah.
No,
yeah.
I was trying to work out his a bit of he sounds a bit Welshy as well. He does. So he's sort of between.
He's an American Irish Welshman. Okay, yes.
Great. So in all of that, this is where we first see Kroll in episode 2, the actual Kroll. So were you surprised that this big creature, was it a surprise or was it just, oh, okay?
Yeah, I think like for something to, I like not a massive surprise because it's talked about, but for it to exist, it's because actually even like at the plant, there's no hint of it until after it's seen. And then they start noticing things. So in that sense, it was a surprise. And normally they're either like something robotic or more of a mythy thing or smoke and mirrors sort of idea. Like nothing actually exists, but the people believe that something exists. So to actually see something existing that, like right or wrong, is a thing.
It's probably like our biggest monster ever that we've had so far. We had the giant robot, but that wasn't that big.
We've had a giant dinosaur.
Oh, dinosaur. I think Kroll's bigger than a dinosaur. I'm thinking it's like massive. It ate a whole oil rig thing.
We've had something else eat an oil rig or do something to an oil rig.
Oh, that was the Loch Ness Monster, yeah.
That's what I mean, though. Like we've had something similar with the rigs, and I don't know. There was a lot of this that felt similar.
But okay, what about the bit where it's in the pipe? That looks good. Where the guy gets eaten from the pipe, where it comes through, bursts through. That's another good cliffhanger, actually.
Just some good cliffhangers in this.
And also, while we're talking about that, where they're stretched out on where the Doctor, Romana and Rome Dutt are stretched
that as well.
That's clever, where it's the vines that's supposed to dry out and stretch them, and then the rain comes through, and the Doctor does that weird, like, to break the glass.
It made me laugh, that, yeah.
But yeah, I think there is a lot of. I don't know. I feel like you do have to concentrate a lot. I can't just sort of watch this for fun. You've sort of really got to get into it a bit more, and maybe if you're not really in the right mood to watch to get into the story as much. I think there are a lot of layers there, and you can get a lot out of it. And there's a lot of political commentary in this. But actually, if you want a sort of a fun Doctor Who adventure, just to, I don't know, it doesn't have. I don't know. There's something missing. There's sort of a fun element missing. I feel.
I don't think that's the case. I just think there's a lot of things that we've had a lot of.
It's the same
But
director.
actually, if you took this story 4 or 5 seasons ago, it wouldn't feel any different.
No, you're right. Yeah. Well, it's a writer.
I think it's just where it's placed within what's happening.
It's the same writer that was the script editor a couple of seasons ago. So he wrote Talons of Wing Chiang.
Yeah,
he wrote.
It feels like all those ones.
Sort of a couple of Leela seasons ago.
And it feels a lot like that. It feels a lot like someone who wasn't writing for the point being what was it? Not glass. What's it called? What are they
Key
trying
to
to
time.
get?
Key to time.
Yeah, the key of time. Yes. Whereas the other ones have felt a little bit more like a drive towards the point of the key of time. This has felt more like a story that tags on the key of time.
Yeah, it does. It would still just be your standard story without that.
If the Doctor hadn't figured out that Kroll was the key of time, there'd have been a slightly different ending to stop Kroll, and that would have been that.
Yeah, you're right. And it's the same director as Underworld, which was the green screen one.
Well, there you go. Yeah.
And I think these are the only 2 Doctor Who's that he ever did.
But I wonder if that's like because there's a bit of green screen with this.
Well, only when Kroll sort of pops up, which still looks pretty good. It blends in well.
It looks really effective, yeah.
The Doctor and Romana are great in this. They're not bad. They've got good parts in this. Romana's still quite strong in this. She's still and the Doctor's still got his funny lines, and he's in and out of this.
But actually,
on each side quite a lot, arguing with everyone.
And I wonder if it's also because there's no canine in it.
No.
So that feels a little bit like that makes it feel a little bit older in terms of the storyline, because all the new ones have had canine, and that sort of adds a bit of humour.
But what we don't have is any of TARDIS scenes where they're chatting at the beginning, chatting at the end. So that's quite a nice change, because we've had quite a lot of that recently.
But we've also not. I mean, there is nothing about this story that is unique to Romana. That could be pretty much any companion. There is nothing that is like this person who is also a Time Lord and also has this intelligence, but also the naivety of not under. I mean, what was great about last week was her naivety of the universe, yet having all this intelligence. Even in this world, because she was by herself a lot, she was making choices and decisions, and there was nothing that was unique to like her and her character and what she brought to it. She was literally, to begin with, the screaming female companion that got captured. And then they get out, and she'd lost the thing anyway that the Doctor found, and he found it straight away. It's not even discussed. It's like, oh yeah, and I found it. I know you lost it. I found it. And then after that, they're pretty much together most of the time.
And she does have the naivety bit right towards the end when Kroll's eating the oil rig thing, and she's like, "Oh, I'm just going to go down here and have a look out the window," and then she's like, "Smash!"
I think, as well.
Yeah, I thought that was. Yeah,
I don't even think that'd been because in that moment, there's all that going on. Her character would be like listening to what to do, because she like, why was she suddenly deciding to walk down a corridor? She'd never. I just don't think she would have done that before. There's nothing in that character. She's there on a mission, so when they're in danger, she'd be listening what to do for the mission. I don't know. I just felt like there was nothing unique to her
and the
character within it.
The swampies storyline sort of just fizzles out a little bit, because you've got this. They're going to be like, we're going to fight back, and then they get these weapons that don't work, and there's a bit of infight, and then they do end up on the rig. And then, actually, when they spear that bad guy, there's a load of blood and stuff. That's quite a moment. But they sort of spear him, he dies, and they're like, right, we're all going to just live here now, and there doesn't seem to be any other consequence, and they've worshipped this Kroll thing. I mean, I know their leader gets eaten at the end as well, but it doesn't feel like... I thought we just sort of leave it like... I don't know, is what's going to happen next. We don't really feel like we know what's going to happen next, but we don't really care either, in a way. Or what happens to the other guy that's left. The Doctor's like, oh, someone will come and pick you up eventually.
Yeah.
We're off.
Like, previously, there'd have been more of, like, a discussion of... Like, oh, there's one hint of it where he says, like, you never know, maybe you'll learn to, in, like, this environment. I can't remember the exact one, but there's one hint of, like, maybe you'll learn to work together.
Oh, I was sad when the K9 guy got shot, the sort of goody one. That was sad. But actually, we have a lot of scenes of just those three guys. They're in it just as much as the Doctor and Romana. I feel like we see them. I feel like I was watching a lot of them just chatting in that room. Maybe it wasn't as much as it
I don't think
actually
it was
was.
as much as
it just
that.
seems like it. It was always them just chatting or arguing in that room again and again and again. And even after all of that, I didn't really care about what happened to them, really.
But do you know what, again, would have been a bit more interesting is to have worked out, like, we found out very early on, by basically the second episode, who had supplied the guns and stuff. So, like, I wanted to sort of understand a little bit more of their dynamic of, like, well, who is the bad guy here? Who is giving away, like, the secrets or whatever? So then, because once you know that he is like that you're like, well, we're just watching a guy be bad now. It would have been more interesting, I think, to have been part of trying to work that out and work out who could have done it and who's behind some of this. And then maybe, like, end of third, beginning of fourth, we find out that he's the one that did it, and that leads to this battle on the oil rig or whatever. I don't know. Just the whole thing was a bit...
And there's a lot of talk about other, like, Sons of Earth or whatever, which I feel like, are they supposed to be like Extinction Rebellion sort of thing?
I think they're people that believe Earth existed. Because this is a time when they don't believe that Earth as a planet had, like, all this stuff. And they're like, no, we're all from Earth, and it's a natural habitat, and that's what we should be trying to go back to. So kind of, but not. They're kind of like, we believe it more in, like, going back to what natural rather than what we're trying to do here.
I don't know. Out of this whole season, yeah, it just feels like we've had such momentum, and then this is a little bit of a downer. It doesn't, but it's still not as bad as some. It's not like Kroll or anything that we've had before. It still looks good, and it's still a good script, and it's filmed well and acted well.
When you've got a really strong season and a strong idea across the season, I think it's just standard to have weaker moments. That's like in anything, in any series. There's always that one episode where you're like, I might skip that one, especially if you know it. And I think if I was ever in for, I don't know, a gun was put to my head and, like, you're going to have to watch all the Doctor Who again, then they might, like, this might be one I'd be like, can we just skip this one?
Well, the problem is, though, with this season, because it's you're getting a bit of the key to time, you don't really want to skip it because that's the fifth segment they're trying to get. You want to see them get each segment. You can't really condense the season. Yeah, I know, but you want to see them get it.
Now, because the next one's the last one, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
And you know that, which is nice. And we haven't met this bad guy yet, have we? That they talked about in the first.
Black Guardian.
Yeah. So that's obviously coming as well. So there's also that element to, like, maybe this one's because the next one's going to be more rounded. I don't know.
But also, I thought for this story, though, we could maybe do another baking challenge. I think we should both try and make an edible Kroll, however we see that being. What do you think?
Maybe. I'll have a think. I'll think about if that could work, and then
I think I could make a Kroll cake somehow. Just gonna let you think
with the
about
tentacles and everything.
Well, it'd be fun. It's a cool thing to try and make.
Oh my gosh. Okay, fine.
Yes.
I'll give it a go.
Let's make a Kroll. Great. Well, I haven't really got much else to say on this one. I thought this one would be a bit of a less exciting story. You can see why this one isn't always liked as much. But the next one is called the Armageddon factor.
Oh, okay.
And yes, the end of the season already. That's gone quick.
The Armageddon factor. Yeah. Feels very final.
Yeah, and the last segment of the Key to Time just needs to be found. I did like this end bit though, with the Doctor and the tentacles trying to get the that little fight outside with the tentacles. I thought that was fun.
Yeah,
that was filmed well. I like that. That was probably my favourite bit actually. Okay. That and the canoes. Just seeing everyone going around in a canoe. More Doctor Who on water, please. That's what I want. Doctor at sea. Well, we haven't had a bad one for a while, apart from what we had.
I wouldn't say it was bad. It was just...
No. Yeah, bland. Yeah.
Bland, yeah. That's the word. Where can you find us, Mark?
Oh, you can find us on Twitter and Instagram at 2WatchWho. I'm sure everyone will now get in touch saying how much they like the story. It always happens every time. Do you know what? The last real, remember that Cyberman one, Revenge of the Cybermen, where we really didn't have much to say and we didn't like it very much. I feel like this is that was a while back. That was a real while back. But yeah, I'm sure we'll get everybody saying how much they like this one. So let us know if you do. And any ideas if you want to make Kroll out of cake, let us know. But you just making a mechanoid.
I'll stay aside for baking now.
Well, at some point. Well, I was going to say either Kroll or we just choose something out of the whole season to make, and then we have to guess what each other's made.
Oh no, it has to be the same thing, I think.
Okay. Well,
because otherwise, one person could go for something very easy and someone else goes for something elaborate, and you're comparing two completely... it has to be the same thing, I think.
Or we just make the Key to Time out of cake. I think that could be pretty easy.
I don't even know what it looks like.
Oh, well, it's basically... Well, all those pieces that they've been getting...
Yeah, I know they make into... But what? We're just going to make...
They make like a square and then the tracer goes in the top. So it's basically a square cake with a thing in the top. Okay, fine. Well, there we go. It's Kroll with reeds, edible reeds. You could totally do that. Oh, yes, I've got... Oh, should I tell you?
No, you do, Mark. Mark, you do it.
Oh my God, I've just had the perfect vision of a Kroll cake. Perfect.
I'm gonna
start practicing
to get some more angles.
Okay, well, we will see you all next week for the finale of the Key to Time. Very excited. We're all excited.
And then it's another Doskers. Bloody hell.
Then it will be the Doskers, yeah. So we'll see you next week. Bye.
To Watch Who.